Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 80 of Brett on Fett, and recently the latest wave for the vintage collection has started trickling in to the US, and it looks to be an amazing wave. Personally, I have received the Chopper and the Director Orson Krennic figures so far, and so I wanted to give you my full review of Director Krennic. This is a figure I've been really wanting for a long time, so I'm very excited to review him for you guys. But before we get to that, it is Thanksgiving here in the US, where we celebrate what we have to be thankful for. And so last year I did a Thanksgiving special. I went over my top 5 favorite things I was most thankful for in Star Wars collecting. And so I thought I'd continue that tradition and go over what I'm most thankful for in Star Wars collecting for this year. So here's what I'm most thankful for. Alright, so kicking things off at number 5 of what I'm most thankful for in the hobby this year is some really cool TVC repacks and repaints. Specifically, this Kenner Colors Boba Fett. I was really excited to get this. I love the Black Series one, and I always wanted a classic 3 3/4 one, so I was really happy to get that. And then the reissue of Starkiller. This was a most wanted figure for me that I never picked up originally from TVC 1.0, so I was ecstatic they released that. And Woof. Woof is an awesome figure, one of the best figures in TVC in my opinion. I had the original carded, and I always wanted an extra to open. He was way too expensive to get an extra to open. So again, really thankful that Hasbro decided to reissue Woof. Number 4 is I'm very thankful that in TVC we got some more vehicles this year. It seemed like there was a trend that they were going to phase out vehicles, and maybe they still will eventually, but for now it looked good that we got this N1 Starfighter. Especially the AT-ST was nice. I loved getting the Return of the Jedi version. I thought it had some good paint apps on it. Overall, I was pretty happy with it. A little pricey. And then I was really ecstatic that we got a speeder bike and biker scout combo for Return of the Jedi, and then also a Mandalorian version. I liked both of those releases. Next, at number 3, I am very thankful for the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary products that Hasbro put out. They went hard in the paint on this film, putting out a ton of products, some reissues, but some really good products overall, I think. Return of the Jedi is my second favorite Star Wars film after Empire, and so I was really happy to get a lot of this stuff. Products like the speeder bike and the Scout Troopers, the Black Series Scout Trooper helmet is amazing, the indoor bunker playset, the AT-ST, all the figures like finally getting Admiral Piet, Moff Jerjerrod. These are all great releases, so I think overall Hasbro did a very good job. Now that being said, there were a couple of missed opportunities. Most notably, we didn't get any new Ewoks in the line. We also did not get some indoor Rebel Troopers. I was so sure they would have put out a 4-pack of the indoor Rebel Troopers, and they didn't, and that was just really shocking to me. That just seemed like a no-brainer. But aside from those missed opportunities, I think overall it was a successful campaign for the Return of the Jedi anniversary. Now, because it's related to the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary, I have a bonus item that I'm extremely thankful for, and that is for all the YouTubers that helped me out on my Return of the Jedi special. So many of these YouTubers took the time out to send me a clip so I could use in my opening sketch, and they also shared with me their favorite Return of the Jedi figures. And it was just awesome. So many people participated. I was just overwhelmed by the generosity of all of these YouTubers' time that they gave me. So thanks again, all of you who participated. And if you haven't watched my Return of the Jedi special, please go check it out. I highly recommend watching it, if anything, just for the opening 5 minutes with all the YouTubers, because it's pretty great. At number 2, I am so thankful that so many figures from my top 25 wish list for TVC from the past 2 years got made this year. I mean, check this out. First off, from the 2023 wish list, my number 25 figure, Sabine Wren, got made. Granted, there's a mishap with the helmet, but it is a great figure aside from that, and I'm sure they're going to correct that helmet issue. The Tusken Chieftain was number 24 on my 2022 top 25 wish list. and he got made. Now, granted, they didn't put him on a card like they should have. They put him in an army builder pack, which was weird, but at least they made him. The female Tusken Warrior was also on my 2022 wish list at number 23, and she got made. The Grand Inquisitor was at number 21 on my 2023 list, and he got made. Then the Scout Trooper coming out, he was on my 2022 wish list at number 18. So very excited to get an original 96er. Then Chopper was number 16 on my 2023 wish list, and he got made. Count Dooku was probably on everyone's wish list. He was on my 2023 wish list at number 14, and thank God he finally got made. Pre Vizsla was number 12 on my 2022 list, and he got made. I've heard good things about that figure. Director Krennic finally got made. He was on my 2023 wish list number 4, and I will be reviewing him later on in this video. Paz Vizsla finally got made. What an awesome figure. He was on my 2022 wish list at number 3. Chrysanthemum was number 2 on my 2022 wish list, and he is an awesome figure. Although I do prefer the Comic-Con exclusive version because of the head sculpt and the extra accessories. One of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, Cad Bane, he was number 1 on my 2022 wish list, and I was so excited that he finally got made. What an awesome figure. I really hope they do a Clone Wars version soon. Another one of my favorite Star Wars characters, Grand Admiral Thrawn, also finally got made. He was number 2 on my 2023 wish list, so very thankful to finally have him in hand. And last but not least, number 1 on my 2023 wish list, Darth Revan, got announced and produced, and I should have him in hand in the next few weeks or so. What an awesome character and a really awesome looking figure. I'm so thankful Hasbro put out so many figures, not only from my top 25 wish list, but so many figures from the top 5. I mean, both my number 2 and number 1 choices from last year and my number 2 and number 1 choices from the beginning of 2023 all got made, and I just couldn't be more thankful for that. And the number 1 thing that I am thankful for in the hobby for 2023 is that we got another Vintage Collection HasLab, and it is a doozy. It is a massive ghost ship from Rebels. I think they knocked it out of the park with this product, and I love the carded figures with the mural art. I just really love everything about this release, and am very thankful that the community came together and backed an item that is not only very large, meaning it's going to be very difficult for some people to display, but also very expensive for the average person at $500. So I just want to thank the Hasbro design team for making such an awesome product, and thank all the collectors out there that were willing to back it. All right, so it's time for the figure review. Here is the brand new Director Orson Krennic from Rogue One for the Vintage Collection in all his glory. We have had Rogue One figures in the line for so many years and never had the main villain from the film. I just don't get it. Basically, Krennic and Count Dooku are probably the 2 villains we've been needing the most, and we're finally getting them. So let's start by taking a look at the card back. There is Director Orson Krennic on the blue name pill, and there is the film out image. A great picture, but I am very disappointed they didn't go with the image of him standing in front of the viewport. It just looks so cool. I think a lot of you would agree. I think YouTuber Only One Kenobi at one point had a custom Krennic figure with that image on the card back. I remember seeing that and thinking, yes, that is the perfect image to use for this figure. So just sad they didn't go with that. But still a good card back. And there is a look at the figure inside the bubble there. Looking pretty good. And flipping over to the back, this is VC302, and this is the first back of card I've gotten in hand with the new style in the back that is very reminiscent of the original TVC 1.0 figures, with the difference, of course, being that on this time around, they're just showing the same figure you've purchased on the back, instead of the TVC 1.0s where they would show an image of the first version of that figure, which I liked so much better. That was a really cool feature on the back of those cards. I don't know why they haven't gone back to doing that, but I guess it is progress.
You have to start somewhere.
Alright, so here is Krennic straight out of the packaging. Let's first talk about his accessories that come with him, which is basically 2 accessories. You've got his blaster and then his cape, which is removable. Now this is a molded soft plastic. They went with that choice instead of the cloth goods. And I'm not going to criticize him for it. I've seen the soft goods go pretty wrong in some cases. And with the shape of the way his cape flows and the collar and everything, it probably would have been very difficult to achieve with soft goods. So I'm not going to criticize him for that decision. I think it looks fine. All right, so let's take a look at his blaster. And it looks pretty good. I'd say it's a pretty good mold. It looks pretty close to the source material, and they actually added some paint apps there. So that's always a plus, because sometimes they cheap out and they don't add any paint apps. It's just all one color. And let's take a closer look at the figure itself, and what a fantastic looking head sculpt. Great likeness to Ben Mendelsohn, the actor that plays Krennic. Just really good head sculpt. There's his little tiny code cylinders and his rank insignia. All the paint apps on those details look fantastic. Very clean and precise paint apps on those tiny little pieces there. There's a look at his belt. Again, the paint apps just look really nice and tidy all the way around. There's his holster, which is extra wide. I guess it has to be for the type of blaster he uses. And I really like the paint job on the pants and boots. You got that matte black on the pants and then the shiny glossy on the boots. It just looks really nice. And of course you got the soft plastic there to allow articulation at the legs. Again, the boots just look really great. Of course, these are exact same mold used for all the new Imperial officers, but it's just a really good mold. So very happy we've got these new Imperial officer molds. So yeah, this is a fantastic looking figure. And now I just want to see how the gun fits in the holster. It seems to be a little bit awkward, and then I realized, oh, I've got it backwards, which I wasn't really sure at first why it needs to go backwards, but then I realized, oh, it's because he's actually left-handed, and so if he was grabbing it with his left hand, he would want the blaster turning around that way. So that's a nice little touch by Hasbro on the holsters to get that accurate. So let's see how the gun fits in his hand. Now, unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to stay correctly in his hand. I'm trying to move it around and it just keeps popping out. I had to edit this. I dropped his gun like literally 4 or 5 times trying to get it, and then I realized what it was. He doesn't have a trigger finger on his left hand, which is his gun hand, and the trigger finger is on his right hand, so that's really unfortunate. And so of course when I put the blaster in his right hand, it's just fine because it's got that trigger finger to stabilize it. So it's just really unfortunate. I just surprised Hasbro messed that up because they put the effort into getting the holster accurate. So it's just really strange that they messed that up. You know, but maybe it was a budget issue and they didn't want to go through the trouble of having to mold a different hand since, you know, almost all the action figures have trigger fingers on their right hand. Let's go through the articulation real quick. You've got a ball joint there at the neck, pretty standard, plenty of rotation for the head. At the shoulder, you've got a ball hinge there. You've got a standard ball hinge at the elbow. It does get 90 degrees, which is great. And then you've got the swivel wrist with a hinge on the palm. So it's like the horizontal hinge. And then on the right hand, you've got the hinge on the outside. It's like a vertical hinge for the right hand. So probably the opposite of what you'd want for a left-handed person firing a blaster, but that's okay. So at the waist, he's got the swivel waist there. It doesn't have much crunch, very limited crunch, but you know, it's an officer, so that's okay. At the hips, you got the new barbell style hips. You've got a swivel there at the upper thigh, and then you've got a ball hinge at the knee, which gets 90 degrees, so that's good. And then at the ankle, you got a ball hinge with rocker ankles. So all the modern stuff there, so that's all very good. So articulation is excellent and what you'd expect from a brand new figure, and more than you would actually need probably for an Imperial officer. Next, I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about the new Thrawn figure being an off-white and just not white as other officers, so I just wanted to bring in the Thrawn figure to compare him. And why is my Thrawn posed like he's the hand-on-hips meme guy? But anyways, their white uniforms are actually about the same color of white. And if anything, the Krennic is actually a slightly more grayish white. It's just very slight. I don't know if it's coming through on camera.
Are we blind?
But definitely not whiter. I do not have the officer 4-pack with the ISB officer. Apparently that guy uses a lot of bleach because apparently he is a lot whiter than Thrawn, and so even more whiter than Krennic. But without that guy in hand to compare him to, I think Krennic looks just fine. I think Thrawn looks fine. They both look very white to me without having that ISB nearby. Alright, so let's get Krennic on the spinny. So overall, I'm very happy with this figure. I think he looks excellent. The head sculpt in particular is fantastic. The paint apps are great. Everything is clean and tidy. The only issue I have with this figure is the issue with his left hand not having the trigger finger. I think that's a pretty disappointing misstep, but it's really the only issue I have. Some people may have issue with the molded plastic cape instead of soft goods, but again, I think it's fine. I think he looks great, and I just love the contrast of his white uniform and white cape with the Death Troopers and him standing with that Darth Vader. I just think this is going to be an excellent figure for people to pose with their display setups, and I'm just so thankful we finally have our main villain from that awesome film known as Rogue One.
We stand here amidst my achievement, not yours!
Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what you're most thankful for this year when it comes to Star Wars collecting. Thanks for checking out this video. Thank you to my subscribers. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram and on X. Happy Thanksgiving, take care, and we'll see you next time.